Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Another day, another Twitter files drop. Let's friggin' go, folks. It's been years and years of zero transparency, and to finally get the truth behind what's really going on behind the scenes, what these unelected technocrats have been doing, it's just an absolute blessing. The newest Twitter files drop are Twitter files number 3, this time on the topic of the deplatforming of Donald Trump. And guess what, friends? There's a common denominator here. In every single instance, including Donald Trump's banning, the feds were involved. Another massive bombshell to add to the list of bombshells. It continues to get more explosive the deeper we go. But let's keep on swimming, folks, because this stuff matters. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. Let's roll the tape. All right, friends, take a look at this. We got a piece from the Blaze Media once again. Elon Musk drops third set of Twitter files detailing federal involvement in the decision to ban Donald Trump. Billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk released a third trove of documents detailing the decision at Twitter to suspend former President Donald Trump permanently and how federal agencies might have been involved. Matt Taibbi once again hits us with this explosive bombshell. Thread, the Twitter files, the removal of Donald Trump, Part 1, October 2020 to January 6th. The world knows much of the story of what happened between riots at the Capitol on January 6th and the removal of President Donald Trump from Twitter on January 8th. We'll show you what hasn't been revealed, the erosion of standards within the company in months before J6, decisions by high-ranking executives to violate their own policies, and more, against the backdrop of ongoing documented interactions with federal agencies. The first installment covers the period before the election through January 6th. Tomorrow, Schellenberger MD will detail the chaos inside Twitter on January 7th. On Sunday, Barry Weiss will reveal the secret internal communications from the key date of January 8th. Whatever your opinion on the decision to remove Donald Trump that day, the internal communications at Twitter between January 6th and January 8th have clear historical import. Even Twitter's employees understood in the moment it was a landmark moment in the annals of speech. Is this the first sitting state to ever be suspended? A Twitter employee asks. As soon as they finished banning Trump, Twitter executives started processing new power. They prepared to ban future presidents and White Houses, perhaps even Joe Biden, quote, the new administration, says one executive, will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary. As stated in our ban evasion policy, if it is clear that another account is being used for the purpose of evading a ban, it is also subject to suspension. For government accounts such as @POTUS and @WhiteHouse, we will not suspend those accounts, but will take action to limit their use. However, these accounts will be transitioned over to the new administration in due course and will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary to alleviate real-world harm. And so actually, I think what they're saying here is they were considering banning or suspending the reach of @POTUS and @WhiteHouse for the next 12 days or so until the next administration took over after Inauguration Day. How in the heck do tech executives at Twitter think that they have the authority to control and suppress the White House's communication tools on their platform? This really goes to show the god complex of some of these individuals at Twitter. I mean, I don't know who they think they are. Let's continue. With Twitter executives removed Donald Trump in part over what one executive called the context surrounding actions by Trump and supporters over the course of the election and frankly the last 4 years. In the end, they looked at a broad picture, but that approach can cut both ways. Hi Vijaya, I'm working with Redacted on my team to put together a document to share with you with a POV from research, our academics with whom we have been working, etc., on Donald J. Trump's language as coded incitement to further violence. In the meantime, here is our quick take. The decision on whether to pull that particular tweet or use that as a last straw for Trump depends on many factors, including 1, the overall context and narrative in which that tweet lives. We currently analyze tweets and consider them at a tweet-by-tweet basis, which does not appropriately take into account the context surrounding. You can use the yelling fire into a crowded theater example. Context matters in the narrative that Trump and his friends have pursued over the course of this election, and frankly the last 4 years, must be taken into account when interpreting and analyzing that tweet. Number 2, the larger question is around our moral imperative and decision as a company, which user sentiment should not drive based on number 1. And I believe that this tweet does violate our rules when taking that historical context plus current. And now this I find incredibly troubling, because when Elon Musk unbanned Donald Trump's account, all of his tweets were asking people to remain peaceful, specifically telling people not to be violent. I am asking for everyone at the US Capitol to remain peaceful, no violence, violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. He also tweeted this video right over here, which I'm sure you guys remember.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders.
And so if you ask me, this is clear proof of political bias. The last 4 years of Donald Trump and his supporters. These people cannot name a single concrete example of a real call to violence or extremism to pin on Donald Trump or his supporters over the last 40 years. They use these vague statements as, well, frankly, the last 4 years, Trump, evil orange man, therefore let's ban him. It's absolutely despicable, but of course it gets worse. As the election approached, senior executives, perhaps under pressure from federal agencies, with whom they met more as time progressed, increasingly struggled with rules and began to speak of Vios as pretext to do what they'd likely have done anyway. After January 6th, internal Slacks now show Twitter executives getting a kick out of intensified relationships with federal agencies. Here's the trust and safety head Yoel Roth, lamenting a lack of generic enough calendar descriptions to concealing his very interesting meeting with partners. Yoel Roth writes, it happens. I'm a big believer in calendar transparency, but I reached a certain point where my meetings became very interesting, ... to people, and there weren't meeting names generic enough to cover. A very boring business meeting that is definitely not about Trump. Little winky face. Pretty much. Definitely not. Meeting with the FBI, I swear. Yoel Roth writes sarcastically, these initial reports are based on searches for documents linked to prominent executives, whose names are already public. They include Roth, former Trust and Safety Policy Chief Vijaya Gadde, and recently plank-walled Deputy General Counsel and former top FBI lawyer Jim Baker. One particular Slack channel offers a unique window into the evolving thinking of top officials in late 2020 and early 2021. On October 8th, 2020, executives opened a channel called US 2020 XFN Enforcement. Through January 6th, this would be the home for discussions about election-related removals, especially ones that involved high-profile accounts, often called VITs, very important tweeters. And so it shows how the system was ran behind the scenes. There's a clear political bias. They were working with federal agencies to censor speech and control narratives. And then, of course, as we know, it ended with banning Donald Trump, the at the time current sitting US president, from the platform. And if you really think about it, if the FBI was involved in censoring Donald Trump, that's even more egregious because Donald Trump is essentially the FBI's boss. He's the commander-in-chief, the #1 top executive. Yet it seems as though federal agencies were working behind the scenes to not only subvert the American people's electoral will, but to subvert, censor, and deplatform the sitting president of the United States at the time. That is messed up. The whole thing is being exposed, and once again, we're learning that Donald Trump was right about everything. The deep state, the swamp, the shadowy underground cabal operating within the sewers of Washington, behind the scenes with no transparency, to secretly manipulate and execute their will, their control on the American system. Donald Trump got in the way, and so they all conspired, all these incredibly powerful institutions, to stop him. I guess in conclusion, I'm going to say the same thing that I have been saying in these videos. I don't ever want to hear the word democracy come out of any of these hacks' mouths ever again. They were all part of one grand conspiracy to subvert democracy, and that is no longer a theory, but rather it is now fact. It is now history. Thanks for watching. That's what I got for you guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel, and of course, I will see you on the next one.